The first time I lied to my followers, I told myself it was harmless. A small brand post, a smile painted too bright, a caption I didn't believe. Emily said, "It's just business, sign it, and you'll be set." But I felt my stomach twist. I was scared of fading into the millions who never mattered online. The paper in front of me was thick, glossy, soaked with promises I couldn't read between the lines. My hands shook as the manager slid a pen across the table, his grin sharp as a blade. I wanted to scream, but the cameras in my head already flashed, the audience waiting, the likes clicking. I whispered, "I can't do this," but nobody heard except the ghost inside me. That night, I told my followers I was blessed and grateful, while my reflection cracked like glass. And from that moment, the mask grew heavier, until I forgot where it ended and I began. I told myself it was just a signature, a harmless promise to people who would never see me off screen. But the weight of that pen was heavier than any brand deal or sponsorship. Emily whispered, "If I don't sign, I disappear." The manager's smile never left, and his words echoed, "You're not just signing a contract, you're signing yourself." I laughed nervously, pretending I understood. But inside I felt the ghost tugging at me, begging me to stop. That night, while the city buzzed outside, I lay awake staring at the ceiling, wondering if the clicks and comments were worth my silence. The mask tightened with every breath, and my chest ached. I wanted to tell my followers the truth, but I knew they wouldn't care. They loved the version of me that wasn't real. Morning light crept through the blinds, but it felt like a spotlight exposing every secret I carried. Emily thought, "If I post the right smile, they'll never know." She scrolled endlessly, comparing herself to rivals with sharper smiles and cleaner lies. The comments screamed adoration, yet each heart emoji felt hollow. A fan messaged, "You inspire me every day," and guilt burned hotter than praise. I typed a reply, fingers trembling before deleting it. The truth would shatter them. My reflection in the phone wasn't me anymore. It was her, the ghost I had built, the girl who never cried, never doubted, never broke. And for every like, I buried myself deeper. The world outside cheered, but I felt like I was suffocating inside a glass cage. Sarah said, "You've changed, and not in a good way." Her voice cracked, her eyes pleading. But Emily laughed it off, muttering, "It's just work." The truth was, the contract already owned her, dictating every smile, every word, every silence. She felt her own voice slipping away, buried under scripts and captions she didn't believe. Sarah left that night with disappointment written across her face. Emily stood in the doorway, fighting tears, wondering if any real part of her was left. By the end of that week, I felt the mask sealing onto my skin. Emily smiled for cameras, laughed at rehearsed jokes, and signed brand posts like clockwork. But when the lights faded, silence devoured her. The manager's texts buzzed constantly, reminding her that every slip could cost everything. Emily thought, "Am I still me, or am I just a product they own?" The ghost whispered louder now, echoing through every post and every fake grin. At night she stared into the dark, praying for freedom, terrified that even if she tore off the mask, there would be nothing left underneath. The likes piled up, but each one felt like a stone pressing on my chest. Emily thought, "They don't see me, they see her." She stared at the glowing numbers, heartbeats syncing with notifications, yet her chest felt hollow. She whispered, "Why am I loved for lies?" The echo in the room was louder than any applause. Sarah called, saying, "You can talk to me," but Emily muttered excuses. The truth would shatter even that bond. The ghost whispered through the silence, reminding her she was already forgotten underneath the mask. The morning sun painted her room in gold, but Emily only felt gray. She posted a selfie, perfect lighting, flawless skin. The comments cheered, "You're glowing." Yet her mirror told another story, red eyes, smudged eyeliner, trembling lips. Emily whispered, "They follow the ghost, not me." The sound of her own voice startled her. Her reflection stared back with cold detachment, as if mocking her. Every photo was a lie carved into pixels, and she no longer recognized the girl in them. Her manager texted, "Post by noon. Don't forget the hashtag." Emily sighed, scrolling through drafts filled with smiles she didn't feel. She whispered, "Do they care if I vanish?" A fan DM read, "You saved my life." Her heart clenched. Emily replied, "I'm so glad," but inside she screamed, "I can't even save myself." The ghost sat at her side, whispering truths she didn't dare type. She wanted to delete everything, to vanish, but fear of silence kept her chained. Sarah visited again, her tone softer this time. "You don't have to do this to yourself," she said. Emily forced a smile, replying, "This is who I am now." But her voice trembled, betraying her words. Sarah placed a hand on hers, warm and real. For a moment, Emily felt human again. But then her phone buzzed, breaking the moment. A brand email demanded edits, pulling her back into the cage. Sarah's eyes filled with pity. Emily turned away, ashamed, afraid to admit she was already too far gone. Late that night, Emily sat in silence, phone buzzing with endless alerts. She whispered, "They love her, not me." The ghost's reflection lingered in the window, eyes sad but honest. Emily pressed her forehead against the glass, longing to escape. Outside, the city roared, alive and loud, but inside she felt like a shadow. Her breath fogged the glass, a fleeting proof she still existed. She thought, if I vanished tomorrow, would anyone notice? The answer chilled her more than the night air. Emily scrolled through her inbox, contracts stacked like walls closing in. Her manager's text buzzed, "Sign quickly. Opportunities vanish fast." Her chest tightened as if the phone itself was strangling her. She whispered, "They don't even care if I break." The ghost inside hissed, "You already have." Her laptop glared with drafts of posts she hadn't written, each one another lie waiting to be published. She thought of Sarah's warning, the disappointment in her eyes. The weight of guilt pressed harder than the weight of fame. She wanted to scream, to slam the laptop shut, but instead, her fingers trembled across the keyboard. She whispered into the silence, "I'm selling pieces of myself I'll never get back, and one day there won't be anything left to sell." The cafe buzzed with chatter, but their table felt like a stage where Emily couldn't escape. The manager leaned in, saying, "Your numbers are slipping. We need something bigger, bolder." His voice was sharp, confident, practiced. She tightened her grip on her cold coffee, whispering, "I can't keep pretending like this." He chuckled, replying, "Pretending sells. Truth doesn't. Your truth isn't marketable, Emily." Her heart sank as the words sank deeper than the noise around them. For him, she wasn't a person anymore, just a product. She saw herself reflected in the cafe's glass wall, blurry, fragile, disappearing behind the neon signs. The ghost sat next to her in that reflection, whispering, "You're not fading, you're already gone." That night, Emily stared at her rival's new post. Flawless makeup, perfect captions, thousands of comments. "She's the future, she's real," the followers screamed. Jealousy and dread burned together inside her chest. Emily whispered, "They're replacing me already." The ghost smirked from her reflection in the phone screen, whispering back, "Maybe they should." Emily hurled the phone across her bed, covering her face with trembling hands. She thought of every moment she lied for attention, every hollow caption. Her shoulders shook as the silence pressed down heavier than the buzzing notifications. The mask she had built was splitting apart, and she didn't know which side of it was more terrifying. The persona who thrived, or the real self who might never survive. Sarah's voice was sharp when she confronted her again outside the apartment. "You're drowning, Emily, and you don't even see it." Emily's eyes burned as she snapped, "You don't understand what I'd lose if I stopped." The street was cold, rain glistening on the pavement, their words cutting through the silence of night. Sarah's fists clenched as her voice cracked. "Then maybe I don't know you anymore." Emily froze, her chest hollowing with sudden panic. Sarah's footsteps echoed as she walked away, and for the first time, Emily didn't run after her. She just stood there, watching the only person who still saw her vanish into the darkness. The ghost whispered softly, Now you're truly alone. Emily stood in her apartment, lights off, city buzzing outside. Her phone buzzed with constant notifications, but she let it vibrate endlessly on the counter. She stared into her reflection on the window pane, the glass cold against her fingertips. Her ghost's face merged with her own in the dark reflection, eyes raw, sad, unforgiving. She whispered, "I'm losing everything." For a second she thought she saw the ghost mouth the words back. The emptiness pressed down like lead on her chest. She whispered again, "Who am I without them? Without the mask?" The silence was brutal, and it answered with nothing but her own shallow breath fogging the glass. Emily's phone vibrated non-stop, one notification glowing brighter than the rest, a leaked email thread forwarded by an anonymous account. Her pulse quickened as she opened it, the subject line reading, "You should see this." Her heart pounded as words blurred across the screen. Her manager mocking her behind her back, calling her desperate, replaceable, fragile. Her breath caught in her throat, and her hands shook so violently she nearly dropped the phone. She whispered, "He's selling me as a product, not even pretending I matter." The betrayal burned deeper than any hateful comment online. The ghost in her mind whispered, "You thought he cared. He never did." Emily slammed her laptop shut, and her reflection glared back, fractured by the glow of the dark screen. She realized with a chill that every smile he pushed, every signature he demanded, was never about her. It was always about him, and she had been nothing but currency, spent until she was empty. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a direct blow. She tapped the screen, eyes widening as her rival's account displayed screenshots of her contracts, captions screaming, "She's fake." All scripted. Rage and despair clashed as tears welled. Emily gasped. "He gave them everything. He fed her the knife to cut me down." Her chest constricted as comment after comment filled the screen. Strangers tearing her to pieces with the truth she had hidden for years. Liar. Sellout. Plastic. Notifications flooded like a storm breaking through cracked glass. The ghost whispered softly, "The mask was your shield, but now it's been ripped off. And what's underneath is too fragile to survive." Emily's trembling hands dropped the phone, its crash echoing through the hollow apartment. For the first time she realized she wasn't just exhausted or overwhelmed. She was exposed, stripped of every lie, with nowhere left to hide. The storm spread online like wildfire. Every gossip page, every trending feed carried her name twisted into scandal. Emily's phone rattled with endless messages, some mocking, some cruel, some threatening. She whispered to herself, "Everyone knows now." A call lit up her screen. Sarah. Emily let it ring, throat tightening. She couldn't bear to hear pity or anger. Her DMs were filled with hate, but one message cut deeper than the rest. "Sarah's text, please. Don't let them destroy you." Emily's eyes blurred with tears, but she knew the damage was done. The crowd wasn't her audience anymore. They were her executioners, building gallows with every share, every laugh. The ghost leaned close in her reflection, whispering coldly, "This is the price of your mask. You wore it too long and now it's fused to your skin. They don't want Emily. They only want the ghost you created. And now they'll kill you for it." The next morning, Emily stormed into her manager's office, fists clenched, fury breaking through her fear. Her voice trembled as she shouted, "You sold me out." He leaned back in his chair, calm and smug, smirk cutting deeper than any words. "You were always a product, Emily. Don't pretend you didn't know," he said smoothly, almost amused. Her chest burned, anger flooding out. "I trusted you," she screamed, voice cracking. He shrugged, eyes glinting cold. "Trust doesn't pay bills. Scandal does." His indifference was more brutal than betrayal. The ghost whispered from behind her, voice sharp as glass. "He never saw you. He only saw the money." Emily stood shaking, realization dawning like a curse. This betrayal hadn't begun today. It was carved into every deal, every smile, every promise she signed. She hadn't just been exploited. She had been auctioned off piece by piece, until nothing real was left. Back home, Emily collapsed in front of her mirror, chest heaving with sobs. Her reflection split in two, the polished persona, flawless and smiling, and the broken woman beneath, eyes red and raw. She whispered, "The person they adored wasn't me. She was a ghost I built." Her fingertips clawed at the glass as though trying to peel the image away. The ghost stared back with haunting calm, whispering, "I've been here all along. You can't escape me." Emily pressed her forehead to the cold glass, tears sliding freely, her phone buzzing in the background like a funeral bell. She whispered, "I don't know who I am anymore." The silence that followed felt heavier than any noise. For the first time, she wondered if the girl in the mirror had died the moment she signed that first contract, leaving only the mask behind. The headlines exploded the next morning. Emily's face was everywhere, not framed in admiration, but in ridicule. Fraud. Fake. What? Exposed. She stared at the TV in silence, the words echoing through her chest like gunshots. Sarah messaged again, "Talk to me." But Emily threw her phone aside. The ghost whispered, "This is your funeral, broadcast live." She sank to the floor, hair falling across her tear-streaked face. Rage swelled, but it couldn't silence the shame. Her voice cracked as she screamed into the empty room, "I'm not what they say." But the walls didn't answer. Only the silence swallowed her protest, heavier than the headlines themselves. Emily stormed to her desk, grabbing the stack of contracts. Her hands shook violently as she tore them apart, paper scattering like snow across the floor. She cried, "These were my chains." Her chest heaved, rage boiling into despair. The ghost whispered from the mirror above the desk, "Tear them all. But you're still bound to me." Emily froze, staring at her reflection as the shredded pages fluttered around her. Her face looked wild, eyes red, fists clenched, breaths ragged. She whispered through clenched teeth, "I can't keep living like this." The silence hung like a threat. Her rival posted another video, laughing, mocking, calling Emily a hollow puppet. Millions watched, comments feeding the flames. Emily pressed play and listened to the cruel mimicry of her smile. Her stomach churned. She shouted at the screen, "You don't know me," but the rival's laughter echoed louder, drowning her voice. The ghost whispered, "She thrives on your collapse. Every tear fuels her rise." Emily hurled a glass across the room. It shattered against the wall, fragments sparkling like broken illusions. She fell to her knees, sobbing. She realized the world didn't just doubt her. They celebrated her destruction. Emily wandered into the bathroom, gripping the counter, staring at her broken reflection. Makeup streaked her face, but the mask still lingered faintly, mocking her. She shouted, "I don't even know who I am anymore." Her reflection seemed to split, the influencer smiling back, perfect and untouchable, while her real face trembled and wept. The ghost whispered, "The mask isn't separate from you. It is you now." She slammed her fist against the mirror, cracks webbing outward like veins of truth. Her knuckles bled, but the pain was drowned by the fire in her chest. She screamed again, the sound ragged, shaking the walls. That night, Emily sat in the dark city lights bleeding through blinds. Her phone buzzed with endless notifications, a relentless storm she couldn't silence. She whispered, "The cancellation didn't break me. The silence did. The moment I realized nobody cares if I live or die." Her voice cracked into emptiness, words trembling like fragile glass. She curled up on the floor, pulling her knees to her chest, sobbing until her throat ached. The ghost whispered softly, "This is the end of the mask." Emily closed her eyes, exhausted, tears staining her cheeks. She felt herself unravel, one thread at a time, waiting for the last piece of her to snap. Morning sunlight poured through the blinds, but it felt foreign, intrusive. Emily sat at the edge of her bed, eyes swollen from hours of crying. Her phone buzzed beside her, but she ignored it, the sound now hollow. She whispered, "They've all moved on already." She realized silence was worse than hate. It meant she was forgotten. The ghost whispered, "This is freedom or exile. Which one will you choose? Emily pulled her knees closer, staring at the sunlight with blank eyes. The noise of the world carried on outside, horns blaring, footsteps echoing, but inside she felt invisible. She thought, maybe this is who I am now, someone who doesn't exist beyond the mask's ruins. She wandered into the kitchen, grabbing a glass of water, staring at the empty sink. Every sound echoed too loud. The drip of the faucet, the hum of the fridge. Sarah's last message replayed in her mind. Please, don't let them destroy you. Emily whispered, she still cares, even after I pushed her away. Her chest ached with regret. The ghost muttered, she saw the real you, but you shut her out. Emily pressed her palms against the counter, tears forming again. She wanted to reach out, to text Sarah, but her hands froze over the phone. She feared Sarah wouldn't answer anymore. Feared silence more than rejection. Emily opened her laptop, not to post but to stare at the blank screen. For the first time in years, she didn't have captions to write or filters to apply. She whispered, "Who am I without all this?" The ghost's reflection shimmered faintly on the screen, whispering, "You're nothing without me." Emily's hand hovered above the keyboard, trembling, then withdrew. She closed the laptop slowly, as though burying a coffin. For the first time, she considered not coming back, not logging in, not being seen. The thought scared her, but it also felt like relief. She finally typed Sarah's name into her phone. Her fingers shook as she wrote, "I'm sorry. I need you." She hovered over the send button, chest pounding. The ghost whispered, "You're begging for something you already lost." Tears blurred the screen as she hit send. The message vanished into the void, and Emily stared, breathless, waiting for a reply that didn't come. Seconds stretched into minutes, every tick louder than her heartbeat. She whispered, "Please, don't leave me alone." Silence pressed down like a weight, but for once, she didn't feel anger. Just fragile hope, as if maybe redemption was still possible. Night fell, city lights flickering beyond her window. Emily sat on the floor, back against the wall, phone in her lap. Still no reply. Yet she wasn't screaming anymore. She whispered, "Maybe this is the beginning, not the end." The ghost lingered in the glass reflection of the window, softer now, almost silent. Emily traced the outline of her own breath, fogging the glass, remembering the girl she used to be before the contracts, before the mask. She whispered, "I thought I wanted to be remembered. Now I just want to be real." For the first time, the silence didn't feel like a punishment. It felt like clarity. The next morning, Emily sat in front of her phone, camera open but recording nothing. Her hands trembled as she stared into the lens. She whispered, "This isn't for likes. This is my last truth." Her throat tightened as tears gathered, but she didn't look away. For years, she had hidden behind filters and rehearsed smiles. Now she let her raw face fill the frame. The ghost hovered in her reflection, quiet, patient. Emily whispered, "The girl you adored online, she was never me. She was a mask I built to survive, but that mask is dead now." Her voice cracked but steadied as silence pressed against her chest. She pressed record, her voice trembling but steady enough to be heard. "I lied to you. Every caption, every post, every brand deal. They weren't me. They were chains I wore to keep your love." Her chest heaved as she continued, "And I thought if I stopped you'd leave. Maybe you will. But at least you'll know the truth." Her words felt heavier than screams. Each syllable carried years of shame and longing. She whispered, "I wanted to be loved for me, but you only loved the ghost I created." The ghost's reflection lingered faintly in the screen, watching silently. Emily paused, breath shuddering, tears sliding freely now. She whispered, "The cancellation didn't break me. The silence did. The moment I realized nobody cared if I lived or died." Her words landed heavy in the room, echoing in the stillness. She laughed bitterly through her tears, a sound sharp and broken. "I thought I was invincible with millions watching, but I was always alone." She pressed her hand to her chest, feeling the pounding heart that had carried her through lies and betrayals. "This is the last time I speak to you," she whispered, voice soft but final. She reached forward, ending the recording. Her reflection lingered in the black screen, both her and the ghost watching each other. She whispered, "I thought I wanted to be remembered, but now, I just want to be real." Her voice steadied as though acceptance had finally settled. For the first time, she didn't fear silence. The ghost's lips curved faintly, not mocking but mournful, as if relieved. Emily closed her eyes, pressing the phone down beside her. The buzzing notifications had stopped. The world outside still roared with cars, lights, and strangers, but inside there was only stillness. The night fell heavy, neon lights glowing beyond her window. Emily sat by the glass, forehead pressed against the cold surface. Her breath fogged the pain, fading as quickly as it formed. She whispered one last line, sharp as glass, "And that's why you'll never see me online again." The words hung in the room like smoke, irreversible, final. Silence followed, deeper than any applause or hatred she had ever known. She closed her eyes, letting the stillness consume her. The ghost lingered in her reflection, but now it said nothing. It simply watched as Emily disappeared into the quiet.